Blake Lively's lawsuit is quickly unraveling, and her latest move may have pushed it into full-blown disaster. What she thought would be her smoking gun, a so-called birth video scandal, is now widely seen as a desperate attempt to salvage a collapsing case. Here's the breakdown. Blake has filed yet another motion for sanctions, reportedly her seventh or eighth, targeting producer Jamie Heath, who works with Justin Baldoni's Wayfair Studios. She claims Jamie hid evidence, specifically a home birth video of his wife, Natasha. According to Blake's filings, she was traumatized when Jamie allegedly showed her a short clip on set, calling it pornographic and inappropriate. But here's the twist. The video has already been handed over in discovery, and it's nothing like she described. Wayfair's legal team confirmed the footage is a 3-minute, fully censored recording of a beautiful, emotional home birth, designed to protect privacy. There's nothing indecent, nothing sexual, and certainly nothing to justify the allegations. Why is Blake fighting so hard over a video that proves nothing? Insiders say she's running out of legal maneuvers. Her case is collapsing, and this motion appears to be a last-ditch effort to manipulate the narrative, portray herself as a victim, and cast Justin Baldoni's team as villains. This strategy, however, may backfire spectacularly. Blake is asking the court to punish Jamie Heath for allegedly refusing to provide the full birth video, even though the 3-minute censored clip was delivered weeks ago as ordered. She claims the video she remembers was longer, more graphic, and somehow proves harassment. Legal experts note this is a classic tactic. When a case is failing, create confusion, turn facts into disputed memories, and complicate the legal record to force a jury trial instead of a dismissal. Blake's claim that the video isn't what she saw attempts to transform a legal question into a factual dispute, buying time and potentially complicating the court's decision. But it's not working. Court documents reveal that she may have sued the wrong employer, failed to file a proper EEOC complaint, didn't obtain a right to sue letter, and might have filed in the wrong state. Instead of taking responsibility for a failing case, she is spinning a new narrative. It's not my fault I'm losing. It's because evidence was hidden. Behind all this courtroom chaos are real people whose lives are being disrupted. Jamie Heath and his wife Natasha, who is neither a public figure nor a producer but a professional dancer and postpartum care worker, had shared an intimate moment, the birth of their child. That deeply personal experience has now become the latest weapon in Blake Lively's legal arsenal. She is demanding access to every version of the birth footage, claiming it's necessary to prove her case. In reality, she is asking the court for access to a private, nude video of another woman to present to a jury. To make matters worse, her filings reportedly demean the Heaths, labeling the video as pornographic and stripping it of its dignity and significance. What was meant to be a game-changing piece of evidence has now exposed Blake's case as increasingly desperate and ethically questionable. Rather than strengthening her position, the motion has drawn widespread criticism, highlighting the lengths she's willing to go to manipulate the narrative and complicate the legal process. It's a high-risk maneuver, and with her lawsuit already on shaky ground, this latest attempt may end up being the move that costs her everything, legally, publicly, and professionally. Blake Lively's courtroom strategy now looks less like legitimate litigation and more like a calculated stunt, turning private lives into collateral damage in a legal drama that shows no sign of slowing down. For Natasha Heath, this lawsuit isn't just a legal battle, it's public humiliation on a scale few could imagine. The deeply personal home birth video she shared with her husband Jamie has now been dragged into a tabloid-style narrative by one of Hollywood's most high-profile actresses. Blake Lively has turned an intimate, emotional moment into fodder for a lawsuit, claiming Jamie forced the footage on her without warning. Wayfair Studios' filings tell a very different story. The video was shown strictly in context, as part of a creative discussion for a childbirth scene. What was meant to be a private, beautiful moment has been weaponized, leaving Natasha feeling betrayed and exposed, a position no woman should ever have to endure. At this point, the lawsuit has long since shifted from seeking justice to a battle of damage control. Blake's case is falling apart, riddled with procedural errors. The wrong employer was sued, the jurisdiction is questionable, and no proper EEOC filing was submitted. Instead of addressing these foundational issues, Blake has turned her court filings into a stage performance. Each new motion, each dramatic accusation, every tearful "they silence me" statement reads like a calculated PR maneuver designed to sway public opinion rather than a serious legal argument. Sources close to the case reveal that Blake's team has been using these filings strategically, seeding headlines and framing Justin Baldwin's team as malicious and obstructive. But the documents themselves tell a different story. The evidence exists, it has been submitted to the court, and it does not support her claims. Even as Blake continues to file motions, demand sanctions, and create headlines, the act is beginning to wear thin. Fans and insiders alike are starting to see the performance for what it is: a celebrity spinning a narrative to maintain control over her image, while the facts remain firmly against her. Hollywood insiders are reportedly keeping their distance, recognizing that once you weaponize another woman's privacy, her motherhood, and her most intimate moments, the public sympathy quickly fades, and the optics shift from victim to villain. Diane Stark. Contrast: Justin Baldwin's camp has remained grounded, professional, and focused on facts. Court filings show that Wayfair Studios has fully complied with every order, delivering the birth video weeks ago along with all relevant documents, messages, and deposition testimony. Their approach has been calm, meticulous, and evidence-driven, avoiding the theatrics Blake relies on. Their lawyers' filings are clear. All responsive material has been produced. No other footage exists. This starkly undermines Blake's narrative, because if she cannot prove another version of the video exists, her motion for sanctions collapses entirely. Insiders indicate that Baldwin's team is preparing for summary judgment, a legal mechanism that allows the judge to dismiss a case entirely when claims lack evidence. The contrast between the two sides couldn't be clearer. While Blake turns emotional events into headlines and dramatic courtroom filings, Justin's team demonstrates that consistency, documentation, and a calm, methodical approach are far more effective in the eyes of the court. Ultimately, Blake Lively's attempts to manipulate both the legal process and public perception are showing cracks. Her strategy of turning private lives into a media spectacle may gain temporary attention, but it risks long-term credibility and reputation. Meanwhile, Baldwin's team continues to rely on facts and compliance, proving that truth and patience often outlast theatrics. This case highlights not only the peril of celebrity courtroom drama, but also the profound personal consequences for those caught in the crossfire, like Natasha Heath, whose private life has been unnecessarily exposed to public scrutiny. The unfolding events serve as a cautionary tale. Manipulation and sensationalism may attract headlines, but they cannot substitute for the rigor of facts and the law. Blake's narrative may dominate tabloids, but in the courtroom, evidence and only evidence rules. Quietly, Hollywood insiders are starting to take serious notice of the unfolding Blake Lively saga, and the consensus is not favorable. Justin Baldoni, once criticized for his silence, is now being praised for maintaining composure and refusing to descend into the same level of theatrics as Blake. While one side is loudly performing victimhood, the other is methodically presenting evidence, showing that truth eventually carries more weight than noise or hype. Industry insiders report that producers, publicists, and even former allies are beginning to distance themselves from Blake, observing the glaring contradictions, repeated motions, and what they describe as a troubling pattern in her legal filings. As one entertainment lawyer bluntly put it, "You can't keep crying wolf when the evidence isn't there." This shift in perception marks a turning point for Blake, whose public image as Hollywood's golden girl is beginning to crumble. The lawsuit, which originally presented itself as a bold Me Too-style action, has transformed into a cautionary tale about weaponized victimhood, personal vendettas, and the perils of public manipulation. Blake has not only targeted Justin Baldoni with accusations of harassment and defamation, but has also dragged a private family, Natasha and Jamie Heath, into the fray, misrepresenting deeply personal moments to advance her narrative. Natasha's home birth video, intended as an intimate, sacred experience, has been twisted into a tool for Blake's legal strategy, a choice that has drawn widespread criticism. Fans and observers online are starting to question her motives. Why keep changing the story? Why involve another woman's most private life? Why turn every filing into what looks like a calculated PR stunt? The repeated attempts to control the narrative have begun to erode public sympathy, leaving Blake increasingly isolated. Meanwhile, Baldoni and his legal team have remained consistent, measured, and focused strictly on factual evidence. Wayfarer Studios has complied with every court order, delivering the requested birth video, documents, messages, and deposition testimony. Their disciplined approach starkly contrasts Blake's theatrical filings, exposing the weaknesses in her claims. Court documents confirm that the video Blake claims is incriminating is actually a 3-minute censored clip of a peaceful, emotional home birth. This discrepancy undercuts her motion for sanctions, as there is no additional footage to substantiate her version of events. Legal analysts warn that these repeated filings may backfire, weakening her credibility and case, while increasing the likelihood of judicial sanctions for abusing legal procedures. The cumulative effect of these actions is reshaping Hollywood and public perception. Baldoni is emerging as the responsible, steady party, while Blake is increasingly seen as manipulative and cruel. Hollywood does forgive missteps, but cruelty, particularly when it involves exploiting someone else's private life, does not go unnoticed. Blake's Golden Girl persona is at risk of being permanently tarnished, not because of anyone else's actions, but because of the choices she has made. Each filing that attempts to manufacture drama or insinuate victimhood only accelerates the erosion of her credibility. Ultimately, this case has evolved from a standard legal dispute into a broader trial of reputation, where public opinion and professional trust are on the line. The contrast between measured, evidence-based legal defense and sensationalized theatrics has become painfully clear. As the dust settles, it is evident that the era of Blake Lively playing the victim is over. Her filings are faltering, her credibility shredded, and her attempts to manipulate events are increasingly transparent. What happens next may determine not only the outcome of this lawsuit but the future of her public image and standing in Hollywood. Fans and insiders alike are left asking, has Blake Lively reached the end of her legal and public maneuvering, or is there one final, hidden strategy yet to be revealed? Regardless, the story remains far from over, and the spotlight is firmly on the unraveling of her once pristine reputation.